All right, how is everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So, what I want to call this session or this podcast is the beatings you receive develop you into the person you are. And I don't know if you ever saw Rocky. I don't know which one it was. And I want to say, there's so many of them, Jesus. But he talks, when he's talking to his son, he talks about all the beatings you receive and how, that is truly what makes you become stronger. And I've always said this when I was growing up, actually, and when we used to book and collect money, and I used to fight a lot and do all this shit. And even growing up, I used to say every beating I caught made me that much stronger, and every beating I gave made me that much weaker. And that's not to come off like a tough guy, like I'm tougher than anybody or any of that shit. But the truth was, I remember growing up and fighting my uncles and just always fighting. I liked fighting. I liked boxing. I wasn't good at boxing. I was pretty good at wrestling. But just fighting in general. I liked it in the streets. I used to get excited. And I had no problem catching a beating. And I think the toughest guys, for the most part, can handle the biggest beating. Now, that doesn't mean you're a dumbass getting, you're out there getting your ass kicked all over the place. But I used to say, by the time I hit like high school, I can't even imagine how many beatings. I mean, my nose is smashed in and my knuckles and everything. But I used to think about I used to get excited. Regardless if I was going to catch a beating or give a beating, it was, and this is obviously all physical. And I'm going to start getting into the mental aspect of this. But I just used to think about the more beatings I caught, the more numb and the more nonchalant I became about it, because I didn't fear the beating or the pain. I actually started to gravitate towards it. It kind of made me exciting. That's why I think I ended up, as I got bigger and older and stronger, I ended up getting even in a lot more fights till I started getting a lot more trouble. And that didn't work out very well after a lot of things I went through, and then something happened in my life which was a game changer regarding fighting and with a cop and all this stuff. So that was horrific. To make a long story short, that had to end. But the one thing I will say is, and I used to say this all the time, if you don't have a gun pointed at my head, like as a joke, you're in control. No one is in control of you, for the most part. You have to learn how to make your own decisions. But I think what people fear, even physically, right, is if they catch a beating, what's going to happen? Am I going to end up in intensive care? Am I going to end up in the hospital? Whatever the case may be. This is even when you're younger. Most of the time, that's not going to happen. Especially when you're younger, you're kind of, nobody's as strong. But as you get older, the damage becomes a lot, obviously more. But I think as we get older, too, take the physical aspect away. If, a lot of people don't get in fist fights, or they do, or they don't, whatever the case may be. I think the same thing starts to happen mentally, where we can't handle the beating mentally. Because what keeps happening, I think, is we're afraid, for one, to challenge ourselves a lot of times, or if somebody challenges us, we're weak. And it kind of changes, I think, a lot of times, too. Obviously, when you're younger, it could be more physical. People are either bullying you, or you're going through different things, even challenges with sports, through grade school, even high school, maybe even college. All that kind of gets weeded out unless you become a professional fighter or a professional athlete, which most of us don't. Before you know it, now you start sliding into different things, and it becomes more work-related and relationship-related. And now back to the beating. Now, I don't mean, again, physically. I'm just saying mentally. How much of that beating can you handle? I also think when men are backed, or women, are backed into a corner, that's truly who they are. When you're at your worst is who you are, I think, right? Because when we're at our worst situation, and that could be in our worst financial situation, it could be even physical, mental, whatever the case may be, how we react and fight through that is really who we are. Are you a crybaby? Are you a quitter? Are you a fighter? What are you? When you fight through certain things, you start to see who you truly are, but it's how you fight your way through that. Do you take shortcuts? Now, do you manipulate and lie to get back to where you were at? Are you a thief, bullshitter, or are you a fighter that, even though you've been beaten down, and my mother always says you can beat us down, but you can knock us down, you're not going to knock me out. And I think about that all the time, because I don't care if you're broke or if you're a billionaire. You're going to be hammered. That could be your parents are going to pass away most likely as you get older. Other family members, friends, colleagues, you're going to lose jobs. Loved ones are going to leave you. You're going to be in bad relationships. A lot of people it's very challenging with their own children. All these things you're not going to avoid. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how good you look. I don't care how physically in shape you are. I don't care how you think you're programming your children. All these things. Let me get some water. But if you, again, train yourself or your mind, regardless of how you've been programmed in the past, you start kind of reprogramming yourself that a beating is a good thing. God, what is that one guy who does the military podcast? How can I forget his name? But anything bad that comes into his life, he says good. Can't remember his name. Something with an O, isn't it? Well, he was a Navy SEAL instructor, and I was actually fortunate enough to meet a Navy SEAL instructor in San Diego as well. I was dating someone. Her best friend's husband was a Navy SEAL instructor, which was a very interesting thing to meet and talk with him. But a lot of times and I used to say this too, I hate problems. I do. I got that actually off the movie Blow with Johnny Depp. And Pablo Escobar in that character, he walks up to him and says, I don't like problems. And I used to say that to my kids my whole life because I do not like problems. But when I say that, I mean, I don't like bullshit problems. Don't bring your bullshit problems or cause drama that doesn't necessarily need to be there. But I do like challenges. I'm a 100% challenge guy because I challenge myself constantly if I'm not writing a book, a screenplay, creating a program, making a video, making a podcast. I have to challenge myself because if I don't, I kind of feel like a pussy. I just can't sit around and watch TV. Even if I'm going to the gym, I don't care if it's even a bad workout, I challenge my body that day. I got to watch a video on something or I have to read something. I want to challenge I want to challenge there. Even my girlfriend, we challenge each other with, different things regarding, it could be whatever. It could be whatever. But that doesn't mean I want to go to war with that person. And that also doesn't mean I don't accept their opinions because that's when you learn is when you're open-minded enough to, take it as much as give it, right? But back to the beatings. If you're somebody who is scared all the time, and I teach this in my Mastering Self-Confidence program, it's a lot about handling rejection, and I get it, because back to the beatings, it does it again, not physical, mental, or it just could be the environment if you're going after a certain type of woman. So my program is actually about helping men find the woman or women of their dreams, even if they've been through a bad breakup or divorce. And back to beatings. Everybody goes through their own situations. They get hit from every different direction in a different way. No one is the same. No one is the same financially. No one is the same emotionally. No one is the same in any way, shape, or form. I don't think people really recognize that, how we are all so unique on so many different levels. It's unbelievable. I don't even care if you're twins. Most likely you both live entirely different lives, or you're about to, even though if you were raised as kids, but you both have different opinions, you both have different things you want to do, you both think differently, the whole thing. But in my program, I really try to help men get over that rejection phase, because what happens is I think it bogs us down, and it could be women, it could be a workplace too. It could be going into a college, and I talk about this, where after you keep getting rejected, beat up, or whatever you want to call it, it just starts breaking you down. And are you going to let that break you down or build you up? Because when you hear no, a lot of times you should be saying next. I talk about that all the time. I forgot who I ripped that off of. Somebody on the Law of Attraction. I think they were the ones that said that. I can't remember names. I'm horrible with them. But to make a long story short, next. A lot of times, though, when we do get rejected, we think the whole world's looking at us. 7.5 billion people. Like, you want to ask a girl out, hey, would you mind going on? She's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, or whatever. You think everybody in the world is looking at you, and it's crashing down on you like, oh my God, she just told me no, what am I going to do? No one cares, my friend. That goes with a lot of things. You may, again, wanted to get in a certain college. They denied you. Okay, who knows? Your parents, maybe? Your siblings? Who else? Friends? I don't know. Who cares? Life goes on. That's what it's all about. That no is going to make you a lot stronger, I believe, in the future. All the no's that I got trying to break into the film industry, because I was making independent movies, I kept thinking I wanted to go into Hollywood, make these type of Hollywood films. Then I ended up moving to California. Then I ended up hanging out in LA, and I was like, oh my God, this is nothing like what I thought it was going to be, nor do I want it to be. You don't know that because, again, from a distance, it looked like a dream. And then I kind of got into it. I'm like, this is more like a nightmare. I really liked making my independent movies. I didn't realize it, because I was creating what I wanted to create. When I was trying to raise funding then for like my fourth film, or trying to break into the industry that way and all these other things, it was just so many different things and that doesn't mean I was quitting. I just despised it. I didn't like the way they did things there. I didn't like the way just everything about it just wasn't me. Does that mean that means I'll never like it there? I don't know. But I was shocked because I always thought I was doing everything wrong, which I'm not saying my films are great or that they're polished or they're nothing compared to a Hollywood film. But again, I didn't have multi-millions of dollars. But I really went back to look and say, wow, I really enjoyed the experience of doing what I did. But all the no's again, even like pitching my screenplays, it was no, 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 no. I finally realized, what are you really doing here? Like, why am I doing why I'm doing it? Am I doing it to impress my parents? Am I doing it to impress my friends? Is it my dream? Am I looking at more financial gain? Sure, a lot of those things were incorporated, but what was the core of it? Why was I doing this? And after a while, and I think a lot of actors or people that thrive for a lot of things that are out of their control, I guess you could say, is, you got to be a little nuts because you keep doing something and you're waiting for others to keep saying yes. And for the most part, all you keep hearing is no. But again, the more no's next. And I kept thinking about that, but I had to really frame my life where I'm going on, at that point I was like going on 45, and I thought I was being rejected by the entertainment industry. And I was kind of to a certain degree. And one of the things I was being rejected is because I wouldn't conform into what they wanted me to conform into. And they do have certain rules and you have to do certain things. Was I willing to do it? After a while, no. Does that make me a quitter? No, because I changed my interests. And back to my, people in relationships with my mastering self-confidence with men is a lot of times they don't even know what type of women. I talk about that. They don't know who they truly want or what they want to go after. Or they do and they're afraid to go after it. If you're going after something you really love at that point in time and you're getting rejected, but you keep moving forward, you're at least in the game. If you're getting rejected hypothetically by women that you really don't care about or don't have an interest, how does that work out for you? Not very well. You have to strive for things that you really like to do. Or meet, let's say in that case, meet women. But it's kind of like if you wake up in the morning. If you have a job you despise, are you going to keep waking up feeling good about going there? Same with, like, say you love fishing on your days off. You wake up early, you love to go fishing. I'm not a fisherman, but say you love surfing. You love to go surfing. Say you love working out. It's kind of a momentum thing. And I know this kind of went a little crazy because we started off catching beatings and now we're on this, but give me a chance to kind of bring this together. So you just need to basically gear yourself to handle the beatings along the way, which again, how do I say this? And I don't want to get too off color here. Let's put it this way. If you keep catching beatings, doing the things you love, I promise you it's going to be well worth it. If you keep catching beatings, doing things you don't want to do, of course it is going to wear you down. I don't care who that is. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is you really need to start finding things you love to do and take your knocks, because those knocks are going to keep creating you into something that is kind of I'm not saying indestructible, but you're going to learn that, for one, not everyone's opinion of you is going to stop you. Also, what people keep telling you no, or keep trying to block you from becoming who you want to become, you're also going to be able to handle that. And you're going to start learning how to maneuver through that to get what you truly want. So I'm going to keep that right exactly where I left off with that, or leave it at that, because I do want people to understand that truly the beatings, physically and mentally, you take, don't take them personal all the time. I know in a lot of times too, when you do get hit with these things where you're being rejected over and over again, you just I call it carrying the anchors. You have got to cut the anchors, grab a balloon with helium, and fly up. Don't let them keep dragging you down and dragging you under, man. You're catching these beatings, and a lot of times they may look at that point in time like, holy shit, all this shit just keeps holding me back and pulling me back. But then, as time goes on, you are finally going to start finding yourself in the right place. And all those beatings you took are basically going to help you become exactly, how would I say this? All those beatings you took, you're going to look back and go, wow, thank God I went through what I went through. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't know how to handle this situation, good or bad, right? All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, check out my YouTube channel. It's Rich CELENZA, just my name, RICHCELENZA. I have a podcast, obviously you're listening to it, and then I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, I have that Mastering Self-Confidence program. If you need help, it's mainly for men, but women could get it too. There's a lot of different things regarding fashion, fitness, hygiene, obviously how to meet the woman or women of your dreams, even if you've been through a bad breakup or divorce too. And again, don't be afraid to catch the beating, if that makes sense. Again, I'm not saying even physically. If you want to go start training to do something physical, and that could even be, it doesn't even have to mean going to learn UFC or boxing or any of that. Even going to a gym and working out, I get a lot of times that is kind of a beating. But the more beatings you kind of catch to, the more you're going to become more durable. It makes you stronger, and that's really, you have to test yourself. If you're going to be soft and kind of be afraid of everything, don't be shocked when nothing where everything that you're going through just keeps putting you back more and more and more. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.